Hello there, YouTubers, tuberettes, and whatnot. Short talk in the trailer with the old guy. It's a Sunday after church. Actually, churches, plural. Today I went to two churches. I guess that makes up for last week. No, it doesn't. Thing is that I was kind of interested to do two places today because the Doniana Cowboy Church down here off of Valley now, they've moved in and they got a new home and stuff, and it's not complete and it's not finished, but huge steps. They've done a lot of good work, and they're still gonna, they're gonna finish up. They got stuff to do. But it was their first meeting there, I guess, and so they're out of the farm and ranch, and they're down here on their own storefront thing. It's a pretty nice facility, and I hope it's large enough for them because uh, it was a good problem to have. I mentioned to the guy who mans the door. I believe his name's Jesse, and he said, I said, hey, look, this is a good problem to have. In other words, here you are, your first week, and already you got a slam bam parking issue. I sure hope Walmart doesn't mind people overflowing into their lot because it's adjacent. It's part of one huge kind of interconnected multi-store parking lot, but it is partitioned off, and so the leakage is going to have to go somewhere. There's a restaurant called Que Pasa next door. There's Walmart. I mean, you could. There's an empty lot around the corner. I mean, you could pick them up and put them down from there, but it ain't that far. Anyway, I really enjoyed listening to what the pastor had to say. He was, this is at the Cowboy Church. The pastor at the Presbyterian Church, young Jordan, he's still doing a good class on this ascension thing. And I had a thought today, and I'm pretty sure I never would have thought of this. I was watching a Jordan Peterson video this morning. I sure like that Peterson guy. Boy, he is sharp. Ugh. That guy's got something between his ears. And straight up, he's a good dude. The stuff he has to go through, it's just amazing. But it's like, if one of the most influential, really, and intellectually profound thinkers of Canada's whole, array, doesn't have the right to free speech on an open platform to simply, air his opinions about certain scoundrels in public places. Well, then, what would a poor Canadian be able to do? I mean, this guy can afford the legal help. This guy can afford to go through this kind of tribunal. They want to send him to re-education, you see. Well, anyway, it was another video about Exodus, and there was an observation made in that video by a young guy to Peterson's right. I know I've seen him somewhere before. He has kind of longish hair. Looks like a beetle haircut. Ugh. But anyway, never mind. I don't have to criticize everybody's haircut now, do I? But sometimes I do. But anyway, it was a good kind of round robin discussion thing, and it's kind of veering off the text here and there with various interjections, and that's the kind of study I like. Where it's not just like, let's just keep repeating these words over and over again until maybe we do hit some magic threshold. No, let's think about it. Let's kind of gnaw on it a little bit. Kind of mull that over. How about from this angle? And very, very clever. But anyway, I got to think about you have these twin pillars in front of the it was the temple. The temple had twin pillars, and I thought Christ has twin pillars. There's his ascension, which we were discussing, but then there's his humiliation, kind of a downward and an upward, and he occupies both. He's the master of both. And so I got to thinking that it's sort of like, well, we have a lot of these twins in our lives where we, or in Moses' day, as an example, while the children were wandering, how do they know where to go? Well, during the day it was a dark cloud. I guess, I don't know if it looked like a tornado or what, but it was a dark cloud, and it just hung there. It stayed, and it was signaled the presence of the Lord. And at night, it became kind of a fiery pillar, and it was at their rear, their defense. It's sort of like, I got your back door. And so, in other words, there's a presence of fire and of moisture coming down from heaven. And in lightning, as I thought, boy, this is all very interesting. But anyway, the sermon today was good at the Cowboy Church. I might listen later on to the UPIC one and see. But it's tough for me to listen to sermons if I'm just sitting here at the house. So what I'll do is I'll speed them up, usually to 1.25 or 1.5. And if the speaker is, it depends on their accent, I think. Especially if the guy or woman is British, I got to slow it right back down because I can barely pick up what they're saying. And especially if they come from Africa and they have that kind of African version of an English accent or whatever that is. You've ever listened to talk to somebody from Kenya or the old British, colonies, Uganda? When those guys talk, boy, you better be paying attention. It's almost like listening to a dude from India. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's English, but I have no idea what you just said. And so, got to learn to listen. You know what I mean? Because not everybody talks like you do. Thank goodness. So, the thing I just wanted to think about some here today was, with this idea in Canada up north here, Jordan Peterson now is going to, they're proclaiming essentially a right from the university to discipline this guy by essentially sending him to a re-education camp, especially designed for him, I guess, but maybe for many others soon. And the so-called Trudeau government, that little puppet, he's horrible. Ugh, that guy's a traitor to Canada. He needs to go, and I mean, to the gallows through a legal formula. He needs to be held guilty of treason, high treason. He's destroying that country, and he's off. Oh, he's just horrible. But at any rate, the leftoids, as they call themselves, progressives, progressing where exactly? We're trying to build hell on earth. We're doing a great job, and this is essentially what the progressives keep doing. Stalin and Mao, and of course, let's not forget Pol Pot in Cambodia. That was one of their more sterling examples of a revolution from their perspective. And then, of course, here in the USA, you got your BLM, which believes it has a legal obligation, actually, to tear down statues and burn police cars. Essentially, where is the police authority, the state authority? That you can invoke the National Guard. You can halt this crap at any moment. But they won't. Why? They're building something you don't want to build. That's why. And so, I was just thinking about that if somebody is as important, culturally, I don't know that we'd have an American equal, except, we have right on display right now, DJT being so-called prosecuted for quasi-crimes which heretofore had never existed and only exist inside the brains of certain delusional people. But nonetheless, in other words, he's being prosecuted, so he's almost being prosecuted, in my place or in your place. So essentially, these are signals, kind of drums, boom, 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 are sounding. If you listen to what the drums are saying, dark times are coming. There's kind of a quasi-hope out there of a kind of an American revival, a la, Ronald Reagan, a la 2016 DJT. A kind of a revivalism and a kind of a kumbaya, and let's make her roll that old constitutional battle axe. Let's get her out of bed again. Sorry, she's been retired and she's been replaced. The fact that you can weaponize a federal agency this far, and in fact the entire DOJ has been overthrown, and this is just one of many. This ain't America no more. Whatever it is called now, they haven't got around to officially changing the name yet, but that's because fundamentally they're liars. And so they would rather run under what used to be at least a somewhat respectable, I mean, what are you going to call it? The Union of Devilish States, or, what is this? Or the disunion of maniacal districts, or what? It's just the madness involved here has such basic things to do with as whether the law of contradiction still applies in our time. That's where these guys are going. And of course it applies, because you'd have to use it in order to ask the question, you moron. But the lucidity and just that strong, determined look. I love Jordan. He's an interesting dude. I'd like to meet that guy someday in person. Maybe we could smoke a cigar, and have a glass of cognac or whatever they drink up there. I don't know. I don't know what Canadians drink. Maybe beer. But anyway, we won't go into that too much. I sometimes have an idea of a kind of a conclave. That's one of the things I like about this Exodus vid. I only watched a little bit of it so far. But there's, 4, 5, 6 guys hanging around. And, this guy, he's coming from over here. And this guy is over here. And then of course, when Jordan online, he's going to be coming up with some weird psychological applications. And, you got a lot of, a nice mix. I enjoy that kind of round robin discussion, because let's face it, we don't see things the same way, but we can agree, at least on principle, that certain things are irrefutably true. And one of the things that's irrefutably true is, and this is what I so appreciated about the cowboy sermon this morning, is that what it really rolls down to is that at the center of things is this dude named I am, I be, I is. And because he is, everything else is. By his creation, by his providence, by his presence, through his direction, he declares the end from before the beginning. He knew this hour was coming, that you'd be sitting here watching this vid. How weird. And he knew I'd make it too. Well, that's just small potatoes, man. This guy runs the universe like that. He tells what, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. His complexity, his profundity, his intelligence, his design, all beyond anything we can even imagine. But the thing that showcases it and highlights it and brings it on home to us simpletons is that he loves us and cares for it. And he demonstrates it. He's not some just all word, no deed kind of dude. He's the other way. He's doing good because he is good. And then when people comment about him and say things like, say, the writings of Holy Scripture, commenting on him, that's good testimony too. And we need sound words in our vocabulary. We need to tell yourself the truth day by day. Get up in the morning, remind yourself, hey, in Adam, there is no hope. Old man is passing away. Old man is dying day by day. I tell you the truth, I died. It happened to me. And you think, well, that's ridiculous. You're still kicking. What do you mean you died? Well, I did. But what you're seeing now is something new. I didn't plan this. I couldn't make it happen. In fact, frankly, I didn't even want it to. Not my own man. I always thought being religious was going to be like being some kind of candy-ass, nice guy. And I was like, sounds like a salesman. And I had no interest in that crap. Like, you can't even give that crap away. What do you mean that's good news? Be like, what is the Pope of this church a guy named Richard Simmons? Never mind. The feminization of the gospel, that ain't good news. The good news is masculine. And what he says, I busted in, I own the place, and you'll do it my way. Which is to say, you will do it with gladness. You'll do it out of a freed up heart. You'll do it in the way that grants weight, grants heaviness to the center. And this is kind of what I wanted to sum up with, and this is my idea for the day. And I only have one a day, so I don't want to waste it. But I thought, the word glory or the word the glorious one, all glory be to God. I mean, amen. So what? That's good stuff. But our word glory is so hollow in our ear. We think of what, WWF wrestling with giant belt buckles or something. We think of what, ticker tape parades maybe. I don't know. Now, glory is like weight. It's like centeredness. It's like the middle of reality. He is the weight. He's at the center of is. And so I thought, how is interesting it is that really in physics, you got your four basic forces. Well, to this day, they still don't really understand gravitation. They're still trying to figure that sucker out. And as far as I know, the three-body problem is still insoluble from our perspective. But he knows it through and through. In fact, he knows the 17-body problem. He knows the infinite body problem, if you want to know. In fact, he wrote the book on it. He invented the sucker. But if you think of gravity, weightiness, you think of sadness lots of times as heaviness, heavy heart, right? And it could be. But in heaviness and sadness, or in glad joy, he's at the center. And so, in other words, it's sort of like the interesting thing to me is that gravity, they still haven't grasped. They still don't really know what it is or why it's there. And they can't account for what they call the missing part of the universe. They call it dark matter. They just can't find any evidence that it exists. How can gravity work like this? They don't know. So they invent stuff that doesn't exist in order to explain it, which is not exactly helpful. But anyway, he's the heavy one at the center of your heart. When you get right down to it, what really matters at the most, is that on a high place somewhere there's a holy mountain and there's a rendezvous. You're going to see this dude face to face, eye to eyeball. Real man, the real man Jesus. And in that clean and sober and refreshing, I guess you'd call it altitude of his presence, you will find relief for all that ails you. Because what ails us really is we're missing him. We're lonely for our home. We wish things weren't the way they are because they're just so rotten and horrible. And we wish that there was righteous judges in the land and we wish that good, honest people were defended in their homes rather than being burnt out, Joe. Ugh, traitor. I want to remind you, treason is still a crime that can be dealt with capital. And I think it's high time we begin to apply it. That's what you are here to insist on. The right way. The way of order, the way of truth. And may these traitors be found and dispensed with. And may Jesus be lifted up in our midst, knowing full well that he alone, the King, the righteous one, when he came down here, this is how we treated him. Look at the cross. Look at that agony. A man beaten beyond recognition, mocked publicly, naked. And that's how we treated our holy King when he came to visit. That's how righteous you and I are, Bubba. And he puts up with us. No more than that, he welcomes us. And he calls us children. Not because we're so good, but for his weighty glory at the center of things. Ha! Jesus rocks, man. Yeah, straight up. You guys, I hope you have a good day.